My name is Caleb Kammer. I'm one of the regional managers for ag technology here at Greenpoint Ag. Today we're at one of our locations, growers' fields, and we're going to install a moisture sensor for his pivot here to help him make sound irrigation decisions. What we like to do is find. So this is our field. And what we like to do, so we use AccuField to go in and find our layers. So what I like to do is find elevation as well as soil type. So in this, we want the best representation of this field as we can get. So obviously, you don't want to put it in a bottom where it gets really wet, and no same on up on a hill where moisture. You want it to be a decent balance, and same way with soil type. So if you've got one pocket that's red clay and the rest of the field's very sandy, if you put in that red clay, it's not a very good representation. So try to replicate this whole field as best we can. So say it's 5% of the field or so, and the other is right at 35%. So I think either of the two will be good for what we're going to do today. So once we establish that, then I can go in and look at the elevation data. Like I said, AccuField pulls that as well, and then get a good representation of the field, and that's how we'll decide where to put this thing. This is the probe. This is where all your data comes from. So this goes in the ground. We'll drill a hole. It's a 4-foot probe. Not all of them are this size, but the majority of the ones we have some new technology that's not new technology, but there's a 2-foot probe as well that Trey over in Alabama has some, and some sod that he's testing, which I have high hopes for those in peanuts. But there's a sensor every 4 inches going all the way down this probe, and what it does is obviously measures moisture in the soil temperatures, electroconductivity of the soil. It has several very useful deals with the applications that we're using it for. This is the comm tower. It is the brain, so to speak, of it. So this thing is either a AT&T or Verizon modem that is in this. It's solar powered, so we don't need the batteries in here. It's a rechargeable battery from sun, but we have some new technology coming out through Aquaspy, who's the company that we use, to where they have chips in these that will pick up AT&T, Verizon. It searches for the best cell network around to use, so hopefully minimize out in our mid-south region, southwest region, we have some issues in some spots where Verizon may not pick up and AT&T does, so we have to be selective in what we send there. But hopefully with that coming out, we've got some technology coming that's going to minimize that strain sometimes of the service. So this is going to talk to that and vice versa, and that probe sends all of its data to this, and this transmits it to the cloud and up to us on Aquaspy's website. What we like to do, so one thing I didn't mention is the probe will also read root depth. So as the root progresses downward throughout the growing season, this thing picks it up, so you can also monitor how deep your root is, where obviously the moisture is detected, and how far down compared to that root, which is pretty nice. So when we install these, with that being said, obviously we want to try to get it as close to in between a couple plants as we can. So peanuts, it's not as bad, but sometimes you get in some cotton or corn that's spaced out really far. You want to get as close to that stalk or root zone as you can. So I would say that right there is a pretty good spot. So what I found is a lot of times we get into some of this red dirt. It becomes harder and harder to sometimes get the dirt out like you want. If you add a little water while you're drilling, it kind of loosens up that clay and makes this part of it just a little bit easier. So one thing we do and we use now is we have an app that we use to help these reports that we, once I turn these on. But it's called FastField app, and Trey Colley has built a form that he uses, that we use now, to where we can record, Greenpoint Ag, this region would be the southeast, the location that this grower's with, the grower name, grower field, and then we come in. We'll need the crop and plant date. Obviously that helps. That's important for, obviously the crop is, but plant date is because of the water use efficiency curve that is generated template by Aquaspy for this crop. So peanuts obviously, and plant date's a big piece of that. So we can scan this barcode on this as well as the comm tower. Takes this serial number that we need to get everything activated, and then it's all on your phone. You can print reports. It's a very, very fun, cool feature that we have always installed. I take it and I always zip tie it. That way, in my mind, if it does get hit versus the metal clamp, it may break it, and instead of completely tearing up everything, it'll break and fall over. So I like to use zip ties. The screws right here don't like this. Cable. Back side of our comm tower, like so. Next, what we will do is it's still trying to say it's charging. So anytime that it's not completely charged, which it should have been, I'm sorry, but hopefully we got enough. So we'll cover it up, and this kind of does a reset on it. So now, hopefully it's got enough charge to where it'll come on and give us some readings. It'll cycle through, if it recognizes a probe, GPS locations, which is
firmware version 9.
What we'll, obviously have to have a GPS location to know where it's at in the field. So we mark that in our app. That's turned in on our report when I activate them. So
battery voltage 3.8 volt. Wi-Fi enabled. Searching for probe.
Moment of truth. So typically when it recognizes the probe, which it'll cascade upward, we're good to go.
Probe detected.
Had it said probe not found, then obviously we would have to back up and punt, figure out where we're wrong, what's wrong with it. These things are just to keep the birds off of it.
GPS time check.
And they hurt real bad.
GPS time acquired. GPS location check.
So you dig a trench, because with low vegetation like peanuts, you obviously get a lot of rodents and things that you wouldn't believe chew on cables, and they've tried to pick that. So we're going just like
network
that.
Signal RSSI 53.
And that is that. That is
network
installed.
Connection established.
So once this thing finish its run through,
acquired.
It'll give you a cascade noise.
Data connection established.
Meaning that everything was established and
server
connected.
Connection established.
Once we activate it online, it's reading now. So that probe is taking readings immediately.
Data
so
upload.
It takes a little bit, and typically these things will adjust. Obviously we poured a lot of water in the hole, so that place, that area is going to be a lot more saturated than say over here. But once that dries down and it levels out, it'll start reading, picking up moisture. And as he walks his pivot around, you'll see a spike in our graph. It's a graph that we look at. It's got a fuel gauge, and like I said, the crop use efficiency curve that we have for peanuts. As long as these guys are within that, we don't like anything probably below 50%. Sometimes you can't get around enough, but that's how these guys monitor their moisture in the soil. one good thing about what I like is online on the interface on the web. Actually, they don't have it. Maybe they do on the app, but there's an app that they can use on their phone to quickly see this unit in this pivot. But they have a refill and an infiltration chart. So infiltration meaning, as you know, any rain event, water event, so the pivot comes around and you get half an inch of rain, it tells you how far down that infiltrates into your sole, which is nice to know, especially with a pivot, because you know, obviously if you're watering and you're not infiltrating far enough down and your root zone is below, you want to get, you know, maybe put out just a little bit more water. It helps in some decision making, which is, I think, a very key, you know, something these guys use to help make them decisions, because that's ultimately what this is a decision making tool on irrigation. So nice. But that is that. Now we'll clean up and go to the next one.